Hey, what's up? It's TJ here, and today we're going to talk about 5 ways that creatives can increase productivity in their business. The first way is to collaborate more. And I used to really, I don't know, man, I had a hard time with collaborating. One of the things about collaborating is that when you collaborate, you have more brains together, and more brains is always better, almost always better. As long as everyone on the team has the same goal and the same values. You want to make sure that everyone on the team has the same values for one reason, because everyone doesn't have the same goal in mind. As long as the goal is to make sure that the project is the best that it can be, and there's no personal or ego thing going on when it comes to the creative team. You want to make sure your creative team meshes, and you can find creatives almost anywhere. There's people who have different skill sets that can add value to what you're doing. They see things in just a different perspective. A great example is when I was shooting a short film, I had a team of different creatives, and we all had different strengths, right? There's people who were just great at seeing light, which was my DP, and there was someone who was just great at setting the stage and setting scenes, and she was my art director. She did everything that I did not need to focus on. It was phenomenal the way that we were able to work together and to put a set together. All I had to focus on was framing and what was in my shot, and my art director focused on the things in the shot and their placement and the colors and how they collaborated with each other. I don't even know what she was doing, but it looked great. And then I had a DP, and he was looking at all the lighting and making sure the light fell properly onto the scene, and all those things together made for a beautiful scene. So when you imagine doing all those things yourself, it kind of sounds crazy. It really does. Now there are those scenarios where we do have to be that creative that's just out there running and gunning and creating things on our own. But when you have the budget, when you have the resources, or maybe you don't have the budget, you just have the resources and the people who are willing to help you out, use them as much as possible, because it's going to make what you're creating that much better. The second thing you need to do is to rest your mind, and this is something that I love to do, maybe a little bit too much. There are times where I get into a mode where I have to work, I have to get this done. And honestly, I noticed that I almost do better when I rest my mind and I wake up and start anew on the next day, and I get some sleep and I get some rest. When I wake up refreshed and ready to go, I'm much more productive when it comes to creating and when it comes to putting something together. Something that would take me 5 hours to do on a unrested mind only takes me an hour and a half to do on a rested mind. So keep that in mind. Don't bang your head up against the wall just to get something done. Take a break, take a walk, step away from the work, and make sure that you're able to, just uncloud your mind so you're able to come back to it with a fresh new perspective and be able to just be more productive with what you're doing and be focused on what you're doing. Don't think you just have to keep grinding. Make sure you take breaks and make sure you rest your mind so that you're able to come back with a new and interesting perspective. Ease off some of the pressure. Now, this kind of goes a little bit with the last one we just talked about, and honestly, deadlines are a killer to a lot of creators. Pressure can really break people down, and it's the same thing with a deadline. You want to make sure that you are diligent about your deadlines, and you make sure that you deliver the product to the client on time. But what I found is that being transparent throughout the process lets you have a little bit more leeway with the deadline. Unless it's like a hard deadline, like something like where you have a live event that needs to go up on this day. What I typically like to do is to set my deadline accordingly to like how I know I operate. I like to give realistic, deadlines and really be honest with people. If I can't do something within a deadline, I like to let them know up front. It's going to be very difficult for us to get done within this deadline. We can do it, but just know that ahead of time we want to make sure we get you the best product possible. So what we like to do is make sure we hit the deadline, but if there's anything going on in that timeline that may push us back, We like to let you know that as soon as possible, so that you know where we stand with the deadline, and if crossing that deadline is okay. Most people are very more lenient with you when you are open and honest about where you are in the process. But if you can stick to a deadline, stick to it completely. Never go back on your word. If you tell someone a date, then that is the date that you'll be done. But you want to ease the pressure. And the way you can do that is to just set yourself a deadline and give your client a different deadline. Sometimes I like to tell myself when I'm going to have it done. And that is so that I make sure that I have enough time and leeway to go through that creative process. So a lot of times I may say, oh yeah, it's going to take 6 weeks. But in my head, I'm already thinking 4 weeks, and I'm allowing myself 2 weeks of leeway to allow for me to go through that creative process. A lot of times I get it done in the 4 weeks, and then the client is happy because it's done early, and they have more time to think about some of the creative aspects that they want to think about. So it's always good to have a deadline, but it's always good to also ease yourself of those deadlines. So don't pressure yourself to have quicker deadlines when you know that it's going to take you a little bit longer to go through that creative process. But as soon as you get in the groove and you're doing some of the things that we already talked about, like have more people on your project and have more minds just thinking about it, also resting yourself a little bit more, the creative process seems to flow a little bit better and a little bit quicker. You'll be able to have and produce better if you're doing some of those things. The next thing you need to do is change your scenery and change like where you do your work. I love laptops because laptops allow me to take my work anywhere. They allow me to go outside and work. They allow me to go in the living room and work. They allow me to go up and just sit in my bed and relax and work. And take them on trips. When we go on vacations, I can take my laptop with me. So I enjoy having my laptop for those reasons, because they just allow me to do more in different places. But sometimes changing the scene could just be going somewhere to just brainstorm and just figure out something new. Changing your scenery as far as just like, hey, I want to go to the park today and just hang out at the park. Go somewhere you've never been before to allow yourself to see new things and experience new things. And a lot of times when I do that, that tends to lead to more creative experiences or more creative thoughts that allow me to bring new perspective. I love to look at films and look at new films that I've never seen before. And the reason for that is because it broadens my knowledge, and it broadens my library of images that I've seen. A lot of times when I'm trying to come up with something creative, seeing something new just broadens my horizons a little bit more. But changing your physical environment and physical location is going to dramatically increase your creativity, and it's going to make you just more productive in the creative process. And last thing you want to do is embrace failure. So failure is one of those things that we all hate to have. And some of us gauge failure differently. Some of us may get someone say, hey, this is great, but we would like to change this one little thing. And that to you may be failure. And it's like, oh, they didn't love it, and someone else may, get tons of different notes and still be okay. Like, hey, okay, that's all the notes. So just know that failure is very much a perspective thing. It's how you see it. Honestly, trying new things is what creativity is all about. Trying new things and failing at them until you succeed is the idea of creativity. Throw outlandish ideas out there, and wherever they fall is you pick up the pieces and you put something together from that. So don't be afraid to shoot for the stars and land closer to Earth or closer to the moon, right? You'll still be out there in space, right? So that I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. I probably butchered that, right? So whatever the case, just do not be afraid of failure, and make sure you embrace it with open arms, because it's getting you that much closer to your goals and to where you want to be creatively. So with that being said, I hope these things help you be more productive as a creative. Let me know if you have any more tips in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video.